Ready to go live on YouTube.
Putting in about 12 to 14-hour days, making masks.
All righty. I'd like to call the City of Wagoner regular business meeting to order May 4th at 7:04 p.m. First item on the agenda is invocation. Mr. Abernathy, would you give the town blessing?
Sure. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we come to you once again, thanking you for your many blessings. Thanking you, oh Lord, for you being who you are in our lives. Thank you for your word. We know your word is true and it's you. And we just want to please you, Lord. We ask that you be with us as we go through. We ask that everything will be pleasing in our sight. We ask that you keep protecting our city, our mayor, council, and all the other entities. We ask that you would bless them in a very special way. We ask that we do everything in in order, and we give thanks to you, because without you we can do nothing, but through you we can do all things. So we just thank you in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Keith Grooms, could I get you to lead us in that?
Yes. Put your hand on your chest. Pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice.
Seems like the background noise.
So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody for just a second, except the council. Is everyone muted? Somebody got some background music for Wagner calling. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval or corrections to minutes of April 6, 2020.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay.
You're gonna have to give me names.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask the councilor this. State your name and say I second it, Mr. Bogle.
Yeah. Or Bogle.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Both seconded.
Everybody said it at the same time.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of April 6, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, will you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner. He's muted.
Okay, we'll unmute him. He has some
Wagoner.
background noise.
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval for denial of claims. City 163 to 179, their manual warrants. EMS 90 through 98, their manual warrants. Economic Development Fund 54 through 56, and City Capital Projects 13 and 14.
I'll make that motion, Abernathy.
Butler, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling.
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we just covered the background noise. Next item on the agenda is mayor's report. I'd like to start out saying it's been a definitely learning curve month for everyone on COVID situation that we have, but start out with letting the council know that we've had meetings on the streetscape, virtual meetings, of course. It appears that this month, May, we will be going into the funding agreement, which we've been stocking money back for years, for 4 years now. July, we should have the NEPA release. Just to give an update on that, the state of Oklahoma, SHPO, they kind of, with the National Bank or the American Bank being on the National Registry, they had a couple of issues with it, so they kind of denied it, and then it went to Washington DC, where it was federally overrid and then sent back down to the state level. We are still waiting on that, but they feel like we'll get the July NEPA letter, and then October is when they'll be letting the project supposedly. And also on that, we did find out in that meeting that there'll be a source of funding coming up for the second round, which we'll call our phase 2. And they said that their expected date is anytime between June and October. And it is an 80-20 match, and we will probably see that on the agenda coming up whenever the funding source is out there. It's also a competitive grant. That being said, just remember, we started this one 5 years ago. So even though we may start putting in for it, it could be 3 to 5 years for the project to come to fruition. Also, Mr. Elam and Mr. Tannehill, we've met on the build grant. It's continuing every couple of weeks. We've been doing that. Mr. Elam got us a letter of support from GRDA, and that is really all we're waiting on for the submittal. We'll be meeting again this Thursday, and it will be submitted. Once again, the build grant is for basically the highway intersection of 5169 all the way east to Cherokee, east on Cherokee to basically where the railroad tracks tie in. Also, if you notice surveyors out within the last 6 weeks, ODOT has a source of funding where they can do one project, and I can't tell you the completion date, but I do know that the surveying and the engineering is going on, and that is supposed to be a ADA sidewalk to connect our streetscape. I believe it's on the south side of Cherokee, and it extends all the way to Polk. So that's kind of good news. And then plus, as Dwayne stated last month or the month before, whenever we last met in public, each road coming in and out of Wagoner, which would be Highway 16, Highway 51 East, Highway 51 West, Highway 69 North, and Highway 69 South will all be redone in ODOT's 8-year plan. And also what is in ODOT's 8-year plan is the mill and fill and redoing of Highway 51 throughout the city of Wagoner. So you can find that information on their website. All of that is in their 8-year plan. And they are a partner with us on this build grant application that we are also putting in that I just spoke about.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Also on the, we've had the airport board has been, which we have a few items that we'll be addressing tonight, but I'd like to give a big hand to that board. They have taken the last 12 months and we'll be voting on a few things on the hangars, lease that they worked very hard on, and we have some appointments of people. They've been really working hard for the last 12 months to make this happen. And also with the COVID, I'd like to talk about the swimming pool. And I would actually, if I can, and Mr. Hicks tells me it's okay, I'd like to get a little bit of input or questions about the swimming pool. I've spoken with several, and we're probably looking like we're not going to be able to open the swimming pool this year. Does any of the counselors have a big issue with that?
None whatever, Matthew.
Okay. Yeah, it's just looking like that with the COVID. I know the city of Tulsa has said they're not going to open theirs. Right now, we are in the mode of, we are exactly how we have been at City Hall. The governor's phase 2 plan is start to roll out in May the 15th. And that's when we'll probably make a decision on how we're opening up city facilities, whether it be the community building and or City Hall and those things. So here in about 2 weeks, we'll be discussing that. Excuse me. That's all I have for the mayor's report on the city side, unless any of the council has questions.
What about Summerfest?
The Chamber of Commerce, and I could be wrong on the dates, I believe it's May the 8th. I believe it's May the 8th. They will be deciding if they are going to have that or not. Specifically, does that answer your question, Mr. Butler?
Yeah, that got it.
Okay. All right. If there's no further questions, we'll go to the next agenda item. Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action to enter into an agreement with Hamps Pyrotechnics to provide fireworks display in the city of Wagoner. Typically, how we do that, and you'll have to excuse me, my voice is hoarse. Last month it would have been on our agenda item, but we paused to put it on to give us another 4 weeks to see how the COVID crisis is doing. And all I can speak of on the COVID is Wagoner County. We are definitely on a decline in Wagoner County. I know that the state, maybe others and other counties near us may be also different, but we are definitely going down. And that even includes the nursing home in Coweta. So that being said, I'm going to open this up for discussion about fireworks. Typically how we do that, we pay half of it on this year's agenda or this year's budget, and then we pay the second half in next year's budget. So I think we're kind of at a point, unless you guys want to table this and find out sooner, but if we don't approve this or we don't want to have it, then that's fine. If we do go ahead and table it and don't make a decision, we may not get this date if Hans has done it with someone else. So I'd like to go around and have a discussion on the fireworks, July the 4th.
My concern is if there is the resurgence and all that. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen. So I would just think that if we did it, then probably not open up like the stadium or something. It depends on what the state's guidelines are by then and CDC. So I mean, we don't even know. That's where I'm coming at it. So
Okay, totally understood. Anyone else?
When is the company's, kind of drop date that they've got to know? Do you have any idea?
You know what? I don't really know if they actually have a drop dead date. I may open that up for Rhonda. She does know that. Typically, we do it in the month of April, and I did tell him last month that we was going to hold it, and he does know that it's on this month's agenda. I will say this. He did say if we went ahead and secured that date and did that, and the state guidelines were to where we couldn't have public gatherings or mass gatherings, if you would call that, or we couldn't have it in a safe manner, as Mr. Schilling had said, that he would credit us for the following year. So that means we would not lose our deposit, basically.
And I guess we'd secure him for the next year for sure that way, I guess.
Yeah, actually, he's been doing it ever since I've been mayor. I can't tell you the term before that, how long he's been doing it. Miss Rhonda, how long?
He's probably been doing it at least 15 years. And we normally have this done in March, actually, and paid the first payment, but he waited just a little bit and sent it in April. And then, of course, we held it till May. He will hold the date. I mean, we're on his schedule, but we do need to let him know, at least make that first payment. And if we need to carry it till next year, he will let us if we elect not to have it. So.
Would we need to wait and let Mr. Hicks draw up a contract to reference that?
I don't believe so, Mr. Hicks, do we?
Well, I would like at least to have the language agreed under what circumstances we're going to be able to not have the event.
Okay. And I think he would be very open to that. I mean, as he spoke to Rhonda and myself on the phone, do you believe that to be correct, Rhonda?
Yes, I think so. I believe-
So, Mr. Stanley, I don't believe that that would be a problem then with legal if we do that. Is that a pretty easy, task, Mr. Hicks?
Well, 'cause that's a two-way street. It depends upon the other side, but I was privy to a telephone conversation with him, so I don't think there'll be a problem. But I think we do need to agree beforehand what that language is going to be.
Okay.
So do we just need to take no action till we get that agreement?
I believe that we can take action with that modified in there, if he's willing to, sign the contract that Mr. Hicks comes up with on the agreement of if in the case of the event did not happen. Can we do it that way, Mr. Hicks?
If we have to, we can do it that way. I would prefer not to do it that way. Can we not do it in June?
Yes, sir, we could, and we could actually do it if we have a budget meeting here coming up. We could also add this on there. So,
I would actually prefer to postpone until we had the language actually worked out. Rather than just leave it up to me, so.
yes, sir.
That'd be good for me.
Okay. So at this point in time, I don't know if Mr. Stanley had a motion or if that was just a question to take no action.
You can just take no action on it and we can put it on our next agenda if we need to.
Okay.
We
Is there any
probably
further?
we need to contact Mr. Hance though and let him know what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to need to get with somebody to clarify under what circumstances we want to reserve the right not to hold the event. I mean, I understand the state guidelines. I understand that, but are we going to try to hold the event and just not have anybody in the stands? I mean, I don't know how that's going to come down, so I need to talk to somebody about that. So.
Okay. I guess that would be myself unless the council has any other input right now. Mr. Stanley, Mr. Schilling, I think you two are the ones talking. Are you okay with that?
Sure, I'm good with that. I mean, if we meet the state standards, if that's all that's required, I mean, however you want to word it, just, I think it'll work out one way or the other, but that's just my opinion.
Anyone else have an opinion?
Just to let you know, the stands are controlled by the school, so.
Yeah.
Whether they open it or not is up to them. And I'm sure they'll go by whatever the state's, telling them to do.
Yeah, that would be one thing that I'm about to. I just forgot to ask. What would Mr. Harris and the school board say about it?
Okay.
Definitely look into.
But I believe that during the discussion tonight, the big concern was what happens if it is canceled and by what reasons would we want it to? Other than that, I think everyone is okay to move forward with it if we get this agreement and revisit it.
Yes,
Yes.
All
I
right.
think so.
Yes.
Okay. We will take no action on this item, and Ms. Rhonda and myself will call Mr. Hance tomorrow and notify him of that. Talk a few things, and then I'll get with Mr. Hicks and we will get something ready. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to approve or not approve requests from Jack's Ice Cream to operate an ice cream vending room in the city of Wagoner. Jack's Ice Cream is he's done it here before. They are treated just like a food truck and under the Department of Health stuff. But other than that, do we have any questions?
Have we had any complaints with him?
No,
None, no.
Okay.
no.
I'll make that motion to approve the request of Jack's Vending Company into.
Okay.
Roden seconds.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the request from Jack's Ice Cream to operate an ice cream vending route in the city of Wagoner. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Oh, sorry, we had him muted.
Wagoner.
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Average,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or not approve ordinance number 947, an ordinance creating a new Title 5, Chapter 12, adopting a property maintenance code, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for supplements and changes to said codes, providing for the renumbering of Title 5 and declaring an emergency. This time I'll turn it over to Mr. Tannehill.
Good evening, council members. So this code, it's the property maintenance code, and essentially it really provides another tool in the code enforcement toolbox to allow us to go a little bit beyond what our normal code enforcement duties would be. Particularly, it really relates to a lot of life safety aspects, including adequate utility requirements. And it also requires functioning plumbing and mechanical systems. Generally speaking, the building codes are based on new construction activities, and what this is construction that occurred in the past and may not be adequate. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of this particular ordinance. If I have any questions from the council members, I'll take them.
Does any of the council have any questions? We unmute this one.
So you're saying this is for all new builds, Roden? This is for all new builds?
No, this actually relates to what's existing right now. So really how this code would be used and where our current code kind of lacks is our ability to go after individuals that are living in vacant structures without utility service. This code requires that utilities be in place. Certain heating mechanics have to be in place during certain periods of time. So it really gives us an added tool to use in code enforcement throughout the city.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 947.
I think Marvin had a question.
No, Bogle. This is Bogle. I had a
Bogle.
question. On this, I mean, is this? We have the ability to retroactively go back and ask people to bring things up to code that weren't in the past.
No, it's
How is this
not.
going to be implemented? Like, how is this going to be taken forward from a code enforcement standpoint?
Sure. So what we can do as far as code enforcement goes currently is regulate high grass, high weeds, trash in the front yards, vehicles, and dilapidated structures. What this allows us to do is to enforce people that are squatting in vacant properties that don't have adequate utility, to say you cannot be in here. And if you are going to live here, you have to have the landlord sign off that you're okay to live here, and the landlord has to provide heat during certain periods of time. They have to have plumbing that's adequate. They can't be running raw sewage onto the ground, which is illegal from a DEQ standpoint. But this gives us the authority to do that. It's not entering into a home and saying your property's not up to code. It's basically saying that all structures must meet minimum requirements to be livable.
Is this just for residential, or does this cover?
It does. It covers residential. It also covers commercial though too.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
This is Roden. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 947.
Hang on just a second. I believe we already had a motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we already have a motion. If there's no further discussion, I'll let you make a second, Mr. Rudin.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 947, an ordinance creating a new Title 5, Chapter 12, adopting a property maintenance code, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for supplements and changes to said code, providing for the renumbering of Title 5, and declaring an emergency. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Mr. Wagner, is he muted again?
yeah, he muted himself. Wagoner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to declare ordinance 947 an emergency.
Abernathy, so moved.
Second, Butler.
I have a motion and a second to declare ordinance 947 an emergency. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or not approve ordinance number 948, an ordinance creating a new Title 5, Chapter 13, adopting a swimming pool and spa code, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for supplements and changes to said code, providing for the renumbering of Title 5, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Tannehill?
All right, so in 2015, when the International Building Code Council came out with their revised building codes, a large portion of the regulations in the building code that had to do with swimming pools was taken out and was put into a separate code, which is the swimming pool and spa code. Really, the critical piece of this, and it's a pretty small document, but the critical piece of this is that this code regulates fencing around pools. And so in 2012, the building code had this in there. In 2015, when we adopted it, took it out and put it into the separate code. So like I said, the critical nature of this one is having the ability to require fencing around in-ground and above-ground pools. Obviously, this is another life safety issue for the prevention of drowning in neighborhoods, and also just prevention of anything getting in swimming pools. So the Gordon has endorsed this, and if there's any questions about the swimming pool code, I'd be happy to answer them.
So are you saying currently there's no code requiring a fence around pools?
That's correct. So currently, when we get an application for a swimming pool, and we don't get too many of them, last summer it kind of became a bit of an issue, and we, generally speaking, swimming pools are installed by contractors, and they know these requirements, and they'll put the fence up. We haven't really had any issues with anybody saying, no, we're not going to do that, because they understand the importance of it. But we want to ensure that in the event that somebody does not want to put the pool, the fence up, we can point to a specific line in a code and say this has been adopted by the council. So
does this pertain to these little pools that you go to Walmart and buy for $100, putting a $200 fence around a $100 pool?
So I would have to really take a look at that. My understanding is, depending on the pool that you're buying, whether it's one of those inflatable pools, I don't believe that it'll have to have a fence around it. But if it has a structure to it, so to speak, there's some framing around the pool,
Okay.
would need to be constructed.
Okay.
Taylor, this is Marvin. Will a standard cyclone fence around somebody's yard that has a pool or will they have to build an additional fence around the pool inside that cartilage fence? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah. So I believe that a standard, a standard fence is going to be adequate. It does have to meet a height requirement. So if the height's not there, then they would be asked to build a new fence with a higher height or add to it.
Okay, so a regular fence, yard fence around a pool will be, it probably has to be like 4'6" or something like that, I guess, right? A
Yeah.
3-foot fence probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I can look at that specifically. I have the code here to give you a better answer.
I just didn't want to say if they already have a reasonable fence, we wouldn't go and make them build another fence with inside that fence. I'll make sure we're not doing.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, your typical backyard fence, even a chain link fence is going to be good, but it does have to meet minimum standards. If it's, let's just say it's a 2-foot, picket fence or something, that's not going to fly. They're going to have to put a new fence up. But your typical 4-foot or 3-foot or 3.5-foot fence is going to be fine.
Okay, that answers my question. Thanks.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I live over here on southwest side of town, and I see a lot of people with swimming pools that they buy from Walmart. I'm just concerned that somebody would go and buy a $300 pool and then have to put up a $1,000 fence around it. Because a lot of these lots over here on my side of town don't have fenced in backyards.
Sure. So, I mean, just to be perfectly honest, if it does require a fence, the risk that the community that faces is, a real risk. So I think requiring something like this to prevent a major and terrible accident is an appropriate measure to take.
Have we had any people die from swimming pool accidents that we know of?
I've had 2 in the last 7 years that I've been teaching in drowning accidents. I don't know about here in Wagoner.
I will say
Just
this.
a matter of time before they do.
I will say this, I had a couple of years ago, not about city codes, but talking to my insurance company, and my insurance company absolutely said I had to have a 4-foot fence with not only just a gate, but a lock on the gate. And that is to
I can tell you,
somebody just from breaking into your backyard and just going in for a swim when you're not home, or some young person or even older person drowning. So, Chief Haley?
I can tell you we have had one child drowning since I've been in office in a swimming pool.
Okay. Answers my question.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 948.
Sullivan second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 948, an ordinance creating a new Title 5, Chapter 13, adopting a swimming pool and spa code, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for supplements and changes to said code, providing for the renumbering of Title 5 and declaring an emergency. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to declare ordinance 948 an emergency.
This Anthony, I'll make that motion.
Sullivan second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. To declare ordinance 948 an emergency. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action. Human Resources to hire Lori Hall as Human Resources Director. Police Department to hire Jeremy Phillips as full-time dispatcher. Note, the council may adjourn to an executive session for the purpose of discussing the above items pursuant to Title 25 OS, Section 307 B1. Chief, do we need executive item?
Not on my behalf.
Okay, I'll ask the reviewing board for human resources, the counselors that were on the committee. Do you need an executive session?
This is Anthony. I don't think so.
All righty, so we'll address this. Human resources to hire Lori Hall as human resources director. As you know, Kim left and has changed her careers, and we put out bids, and I think we narrowed them down to 3 interviewees, and the committee that did the interviewing on all selected go with Miss Lori Hall. She has been a city employee for 8 years. She graduated last year, going to night school with a human resources degree. I think she was a good fit, and I think she'll be a great asset to this city. And what the hiring committee suggested on hiring her for $19 an hour, beginning April 20th, 2020, and she'll be on 6 months probation. And it is a risk that she is very well aware of that she took, and she knows that if it doesn't work out, the library job will possibly not be there. And she is here in the council room tonight if anyone has any questions.
Since the quarantine, my morning routine has been to get up, make coffee, I'm up for everything else.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Like I said, the counselors that interviewed was $19 an hour, effective April 20th, 2020.
Now that there is stay-at-home orders, I get up and.
Abernathy, I make a motion that we hire Lori Hall for Human Resource Director at $19 an hour.
Roden, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to hire Lori Hall as Human Resources Director at the rate of $19 per hour, effective April 20th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Henley.
Yes.
I'll turn it over to Chief Haley at this time.
Yes, we recently had a dispatch position come open. We did announce the position. We received several applications. We got 2 that have previous or current dispatch experience. One of which is the guy that I'm recommending tonight, Jeremy Phillips. He actually works for a police department in a similar size city with a similar size agency with similar responsibilities and duties. And I recommend that we hire Jeremy Phillips effective April 27th at a rate of $13 an hour.
Abernathy, will you be living here?
Yes, he is currently filling out applications for an apartment as we speak, but he's staying here right now.
Okay.
Further discussion?
I'll make that motion to hire Jeremy Phillips as full-time dispatcher at the rate of 13 an hour, effective 4/27/2020.
Abernathy, second.
I have a motion and a second to hire Jeremy Phillips as a full-time dispatcher at the rate of $13 an hour, effective April 27th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Lord.
Amy?
We lost her.
Did we lose Mr. Stanley? I think we lost his connection. I don't know if he's trying to log back in or not. I believe we've lost him. Shall we move on?
As well.
Next item on the agenda, we saw the quorum, discussion possible action to approve the transfer of sick leave to employee Ashley Blair. Rhonda, I'll let you.
Yes, Ashley is one of my cashiers, and she is due to have a baby June the 5th or sooner, and she will not have enough sick leave and vacation to carry her through her maternity leave. So we're asking for the employees to be able to donate the sick leave that they normally do, which we allow them to donate up to 40 hours per employee.
Which is more expensive than the package. But we don't
Mr. Stanley's back, thank you.
I'll make a motion, Abernathy, I'll make a motion to transfer sick leave to the employee Ashley Blair.
Butler, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve transfer of sick leave to employee Ashley Belair. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes. Yes. Did you hear me?
Next item on
Yes.
the agenda. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to purchase lots 5 and 6, block 524, City of Wagoner, from Marlon and Eloise Norman. The agenda item says 5 and 5. I do believe that it is 5 and 6.
Yes, typo on my part, sorry.
What was in your packet was, if you guys have this in your packet, you'll see where it is. I'll let Mr. Elam talk if he wants to, but basically, as you can see, it's along the creek. What they've been working on is the regional detention facility for that creek and our downtown flooding that, and that whole, this will be the south tributary that runs through the city of Wagoner. It starts downtown, comes down Cherokee, and then comes down Main, and it also goes down Cassiver, and it all meets up here. This is everyone familiar with where this is on this map? Southwest 8th Street. I know, Mr. Elam, do you have anything you'd like to add on this? I know they been working on this for a minute.
Yeah, Mayor, this is part of the project with the detention facility of the project you just talked about that we have Bill Smith and Steve Powell working on. We've been able to potentially acquire these lots tonight. Will give us more ability and sustainability for the stormwater detention from that access. So it's very limited in issues of what we've got to do with other than moving dirt to get ready to start the process and build in the coming months.
Okay, if you could, I think the price is
yeah, I'm sorry, Mayor. The price is $4,000 total for both lots, $2,000 a lot, so which we feel well reasonable for that purpose and project.
Yes, sir. And I think it'll work great for this project also. Does any of the council have any discussion for myself or Mr. Elam? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. This is Anthony.
Roden second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to purchase lots 5 and 6, block 524, City of Wagoner from Marlon and Eloise Norman for the sum of $4,000. Ms. Rhonda, could you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement with Garver LLC for the purpose of providing design and engineering services to rehabilitate Hefner Easley Airport's existing parallel taxiway pavement. Project number 20A13691. Mr. Tannehill?
Yes, so the contract total is $68,900. So what this is the next project on our 6-year CIP at the airport. Because of the way the grants are funded and the ongoing projects at the airport, this total project will be in 2 grant cycles. So we'll first have the design, which is this contract, and then the following year, 2021, we'll actually have the construction of the taxiway. A couple other notes that is relevant to this particular action is the CARES Act that was passed by Congress in the middle of March gave provisions that all 2020 grants would be 100% funded. So generally, these are 90-10 grants. We pay 10% of the total cost. This year, they will be at 100% funded. We do still have to budget this, but we'll be reimbursed totally for the $68,900 in the agreement. Again, this is only for the engineering of the taxiway, not construction. In 2021, we will have construction of the taxiway. Any questions?
Just to make sure, this is a reimbursement grant, correct?
Correct. It does have to be budgeted. In the past years, we got reimbursed 90% of our budgeted amount. This year, we'll be reimbursed 100% of that budgeted amount.
Will that CARES Act extend to 2021 for construction, or do you believe that?
I know. I don't think that. Yeah. So unfortunately, if our construction year was this year, we'd be getting quite a bit more money. But it does not appear, at least from my understanding, that they'll extend that to the 2021 grant cycle. It's always possible, though.
Thank you. I didn't know how long the CARES Act extended to. That was just my question. Any discussion from Mr. Tannehill? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Abernathy can make a motion for project number 20A13691.
Bogle second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to enter into an agreement with Garver LLC for the purpose of providing design and engineering services to rehabilitate Hefner Easley Airport existing parallel taxiway pavement. Project number 20A13691. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to submit to the Federal Aviation Administration an application for federal assistance grant agreement request for Airport Improvement Program. Project number 3-40-0140-008-2020 to rehabilitate parallel taxiway, design only, for the Hefner Easley Airport, Wagoner, Oklahoma, and to authorize the mayor to execute in the name of the city all grant-related documents. Mr. Tannehill, anything you'd like to add?
No, just simply the grant process of the previous item. Just to note that we won't be billed for anything from the last agenda item until this grant is approved, and this action is only to formally submit the grant and authorize the mayor to sign those documents.
Any further
I make the
discussion?
motion as read.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. It's Anthony.
I have a motion and a second to submit the federal aviation application and allow the mayor to execute in the name of the city all grant related documents. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Billings,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion possible action to approve the form of the airport hangar sublease. This is the airport board, and Mr. Tannehill has been working for the last 12 months on this. They approved it at their last month's airport board meeting after working on it for 12 months. And that's all I have, Mr. Tannehill, if you'd like to add anything else.
Yeah, just I do want to give a shout out to the airport board. We've met regularly since last April, to kind of shore up some things at the airport board, and they put a lot of time and effort and always come to those meetings with lively discussion. So I do want to give a shout out to them. So as the mayor mentioned, they've really been working on this for the past 12 months or so. The bones of this agreement are from a nearby airport, and we've tailored that to meet the needs of Wagoner. The terms in here are, I think, beneficial to both the hangar owners and the city. In the past, we've had very little document related to the development and hangar ownership. So this is a good step forward for the airport to move forward. A couple key points just to note, so everyone is aware that the lease rate that was established was $215 annually. So every year, that is the lease that is required to be paid by the hangar owners out there. And the other portion of that is the requirement that the hangar owners have insurance. And as you guys know, that property out there is actually not ours. We lease that from the Corps. And our agreement with the Corps is that any sublease that we have has insurance. And so this is putting that requirement in there. Many of the members out there, the flying members out there, do have insurance currently, but this does put that requirement on. And it really meets our minimum requirements for our lease in that regard. And another thing, just to be clear on this, is it's not an approval of the action tonight would not be approval of any lease agreement between one individual and the city. It is just simply approving the language in the lease for us to go out and approach the hangar owners out there with the lease, and for us to move forward with the signatures. So with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Any questions for Mr. Tannehill?
One, Abernathy one, it used to be for storage and stuff like that. It's no longer doing that, right?
For storage?
Yeah, you know, you're liable to see anything out there, you know.
Yeah. So that was certainly an issue in our lease with the Corps. There's no storage of recreational vehicles or anything like that. So when we do our annual inspection, the Corps usually can jump on them for any of that. But the airport's there for flying activities, aviation activities, and that's what it needs to be used for. And our lease with the Corps reflects that, and this lease reflects that as well.
Thank you.
But to answer your question, there's hardly any of that activity. I can't say that people aren't doing it still, but we do regulate it regularly.
I will say that it has went down significantly since in the last year, since we've had the airport board. And it's been a fervor discussion many times, but, we have a good airport board.
Yes, I do. How are you holding up in quarantine?
Any
Thank
further
you.
discussion?
I was just gonna thank the airport board for doing what they do.
You betcha.
This is Bogle. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve.
Second, Abernathy.
I have a motion and a second to approve the form of the airport hangar sublease. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner, Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to reappoint Stephen L. Roden as board member of the Wagoner Airport Board. Just so you guys can remember, last year we appointed two city councilors to that board, two members of the Wagoner Flying Club, and then one citizen at large that had nothing to do with airports. And it's been a very great 5-member board, and Mr. Roden was appointed to a 1-year term. When we started this board last year, they were stacked at 3-year terms. So this will be a reappointment, but it will be a 3-year term going forward.
I want to be long. I want to be far away.
Abernathy, I make the motion to approve.
I'll second it, Anthony.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to reappoint Stephen L. Roden as board member of the Wagoner Airport Board. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
No, I'm kidding. Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to appoint James Stiles as board member of the Wagoner Airport Board. He is the incoming president, and I don't believe he made it on the call. I had invited him to do that, but I do not see him on there. He will be replacing the former president,
Mike Shipman.
Mr. Shipman. Yes. So this will be for a 3-year term, and he actually has a business out there. He's out there quite a bit. Spoken with him one-on-one. He's got some great ideas for economic driver of our airport, and kind of on the same page as most of the people that want to see that thrive and become a renewed business. So
I'll make that motion to approve James Stills as a board member for the Wagoner Airport Board.
Sullivan second.
Okay. I have a motion to appoint James Stiles as board member of the Wagoner Airport Board. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Before we move on, I would like to say also that last month at the board meeting, they elected a vice chairman, and they also asked Ms. Rhonda to be their secretary. So I would like to give a public shout to Ms. Rhonda. Thank you for taking minutes in those meetings, because it was very much needed. So I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to lease track 3 Wagoner Corner subdivision, City of Wagoner, to Miko Charbonneau from June 25th through July 5th, 2020, for a sum of $1,000. And this time I'm going to unmute Randy Charbonneau. I think she's on there. But I'll give a little bit of history just so everyone knows. Everyone aware of where this property is? It's just east of Asian Star. The Charbonneaus used to have their fireworks tent on the property that is contained with the Asian Star restaurant. they were notified that the Asian Star restaurant has sold and that they would not be able to sublease that out because it's going to be a different development. So the Charbonneaus reached out to the city and basically asked for the same deal to rent that for approximately 10 days at the rate of $100 a day or $1,000. So if I didn't say any of that correct, Randy, would please go ahead and correct me?
No, that's right.
Okay. So do we have any discussion or any questions from the council to Charbonneau or myself?
It's for how much again?
That's $1,000 and it's about 10 days.
$100 a day then, correct?
That's correct. And Ms. Charbonneau, is that what you guys were leasing it from Asian Star for?
Yes, and I was just going to tell you guys that we get the insurance and the state and city licenses and everything. And, we've done it with the city for about 15 years. We get our insurance from Red Rhino, where we get most of our fireworks and everything. And I'd have a copy of that with Rhonda Hash at the city offices and everything before we put anything in.
Yeah. And just to let the council know, I should have read her letter, but she actually gave me a formal letter and request, and I'll read it to you now. Mayor Jones, I would like to ask your permission to use the city's property located between Quick Trip and Asian Star. We have been doing a fireworks stand in Wagoner for the last 15 years, and our location besides Asian Star has recently been sold. We would give the city $1,000 for use of the land. We usually set up for around 10 days. We will have insurance, the proper state and city licenses, and keep the area picked up of trash. My husband and I will be running the firework location. We would like to give any city employee 20% off of any firework purchases as well. Please let me know if you have any questions. And so that was what prompted this agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept item number 20.
I'll second, Anthony.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to lease track 3, Wagoner Corner subdivision, City of Wagoner to Miko Charbonneau from June 25th, 2020 through July 5th, 2020 for a sum of $1,000. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is unscheduled public appearances. There were none. Randy, you don't have to stay on this meeting unless you want to. You can log out. So, or you can stay. It's your call. Next item is departmental reports. I would actually like to start with the hospital since Becky has been on this call the whole time too. And then we'll go to Mr. Eden. Rebecca, hospital?
Hi, can you hear me fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, I was just going to tag along a little bit of what you said about the COVID confirmed cases and statewide that they're going down. I believe the number, or as of this morning, was about 8%. And as you said, the city of Wagoner has been stable. As of this morning at the hospital, we still have no active cases, no testing that's pending under investigation. We did have one test for placement, as you mentioned about the nursing homes. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Sorry, that's background noise from someone.
Okay, no problem. So that's all good news for us, especially with the reopening as it's happening. We still do have our incident command center active at the hospital. As you've heard, we have some temporary buildings out there that have been donated for a possible surge. We are still getting those ready, patient ready. There's 2 buildings, one small for lab testing And, you know, we kind of keep our eyes and ears open on what's happening on that testing. And right now, what they're talking about is the antibody test because they're finding out that it's supposed to be like 98 to 99% accurate. Looking for either EUA or FDA approval. Sorry about that.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a tickle in my throat. Sorry. It's terrible when a girl chokes on her own spit.
Quit tickling her, Jay.
Mine was doing it at the beginning of the meeting, so I totally understand.
Okay. All right. The other building is for the ER so they can triage. And in your packet, you can see that our
Take your time and get straightened up.
You can see the March results. As you know, April is much worse. There's already been a little bit of improvement in May, even though it's just started. So that's good news for all. I was able to set up and receive federal disaster funds for the hospital. And then over the weekend, I was able to set up through HRSA a portal so that we can get payment for uninsured COVID patients. So that can help our community as well. And I believe I made it. I apologize for my voice.
No, no worries. It sounds like it's raining really hard out here. So, what I was going to add to that was you were able to get emergency funding that we had spoke about before.
There's a lot of hail out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it may be hailing right now. So
I've got it. Just to answer your question, I've been able to secure funds under several different programs. Some of it we'll have to pay back. Some of it we won't. But it's good to have to get us through the hump. If I don't have to have it, I can give it back. So,
well,
in that regard,
I'm glad to hear that you were able to secure that funding.
Yes. So, exactly. So the HHS payment, which if you follow along on the news, is the part of the $30 billion that the Trump administration, we got our part of that. We also made application to the Paycheck Protection Program. I also made application to the EIDL is what they call. It's a disaster. You can't have both of those, but I did apply for both of those. OHA has also, I've gotten some funding for that. That's going to help us. We've got to do some things to get those temporary buildings ready for patients. It's a small amount, but every bit helps. So, and then also we got some advance payments on our Novitas. It's called an accelerated and advance payment. And I don't know if you follow along in the news, but they allowed that for a certain period of time, and then they're not allowing that anymore. So I was glad that we worked on that pretty quickly so that we were able to secure funds in that way too. So all in all, considering all that's going on, yeah, it was a good feeling to get that secured.
Well, does the council have any questions for Rebecca?
Thank you for all your hard work, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for staying on the line a long time. I'll go ahead now and open it up to Mr. Elam on departmental reports.
Council, you have my report in front of you. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may or may not have. I will make one note of, we have brought all city and public works crews back as of today and fully staffed. So we can continue to move on. We'll continue to watch the data, the health department's direction, as well as the CDC.
Any questions for Mr. Elam?
I have one question. I'm just curious on how the depot situation is coming along. I haven't heard anything on that in a while, and we're still paying that $1,500 a month for the rent out there.
Well,
Yeah.
I can chime in for you, Mr. Elon, if that's all right. You can correct anything that I say wrong or come back behind me with any follow-ups. They are waiting on the free surveying from Atlas Land Office for the foundation. It kind of had a, 5-6 week, maybe 6 weeks hiatus, since we went to half staff. So we discussed that last week, myself and Mr. Elam and Mr. Peters. I plan on staking that foundation out one evening this week. I can't do it tonight because of the council meeting, but they can't pour the foundation until I survey it or stake it out. Mr. Elam, you want to add anything to that?
No, Mayor, you pretty much covered. I mean, we will be back on the project as soon as we're able to move forward with it. We realize the potential scrutiny we're under and the lease that we continue to have to absorb every month. But we're going to move on the project as fast as we can. In addition with all the other projects we've got in the pipeline to deal with it.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know where that stood. So
Absolutely. Thank you for asking.
curious.
Thank you for, and if you're free tomorrow at 5:30, you can come and help me, Mr. Vogel. I could use it.
We'll see what I got going on.
Any further questions for Mr. Elam on the city reports? If not, I would like to open it up for Jim with the EMS and fire and chief police if the council has any questions for them. Okay. Hearing none, next item on the agenda is adjournment.
I have like,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I have like 12 reports of the fire department. So if anybody, but I got 12 of us.
I gave you 12.
I get, looks like, yeah.
Oh,
It
sorry.
was just, that's okay. I didn't know if anybody was missing pages or what. So,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I did not hear you, Mr. Sheehan. I didn't hear you.
Actually, you're correct. I have the same thing, Roger.
okay.
We all do, I think.
Okay. I didn't know if some.
We had an excessive run on the fire department reports this year, Kelly, or this month.
Okay.
I'm
All
trying
right.
to keep you entertained.
I thought maybe you gave us reports for the whole year.
They got the same date on it.
Busy month. Yes, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I ignored Miss Lori Hall's request before we adjourned. After her agenda item, I had it in my notes. I apologize. She would like to say something before we adjourn.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank all the council members for this awesome opportunity. And I definitely look forward to working with everyone and serving my city and my employees as well. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. I would entertain a motion. And just to let, before we go out, just to let Barbara, who's been patiently hanging on the phone while we're getting ready to adjourn the city council meeting, and we will be going to the public works where your agenda item is. Continue to hold. Ms. Rhonda, I'm sorry, council, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second, Abernathy.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Wagoner, will you use me? Hold on, muting. Try one more time.
Wagoner, Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. I would like to call the Wagoner Public Works Authority regular business meeting to order at 8:18. First item on the agenda is approval or corrections to minutes, April 6th, 2020.
Abernathy, so moved.
Butler, second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of April 6th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Billing,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, approval or denial of claims, WPWA, to include 136 to 147. They are manual warrants.
I'll make that motion to approve the warrants.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve claims as stated. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is chairman's report. I would like to say that the last month, we've had some interested parties coming to town, to put, potentially located business here. I would like to thank Mr. Elam and the electric crews and working with GRDA. I know it's a lot of time that they spent to get some numbers crunched and to make sure that we can service the needs of the power if they were to choose Wagoner. We had a site visit and GRDA, Dwayne was able to get GRDA down here and kind of go over their needs, and all our hopes is that we have been shortlisted, sorry. There were 6 communities, 1 in Oklahoma, which was Wagoner, 3 in Texas, 1 in Arkansas, and 1 in Tennessee. And we have been reached out to them, and we have been shortlisted. So I would like to thank Mr. Elam and his crew for doing all those number crunching, sir. That is all I have on my chairman's report, unless the board has any questions. Okay. Hearing none, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve transfer of sick leave to employee Ashley Blair.
I'll make that motion, Anthony.
Butler, second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the transfer of sick leave to employee Ashley Blair. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Sullivan?
he's muted.
Still muted.
Who?
Mr. Sullivan?
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or deny tort claim of Charles Osborne and Barbara Felipe. If you would unmute her at this time, and I'm going to go ahead. I know in your council packet, we had a letter from OMAG. I'm going to just kind of read it. Basically, it's the whole correspondence, if you guys would mind looking at that. It's from her initial tort claim, throughout the investigation and what OMAG came back to us. Do I need to read that out loud, or do you guys, have you read them?
I've already read it.
Okay.
Abernathy read it.
Okay. Well, at this time, I'm going to open it up and let Barbara state anything that she would like to state that she's called in.
Okay, I just want to let you know that, yeah, on the January the 4th, it's just like my statement says in the what I sent in, that I was in here taking down Christmas tree, and all of a sudden the sewer just started coming into my house. And I was able to go out and take the caps off, and I did call the city at that time. Someone come out. I could not tell you exactly who it was. I couldn't even tell you whether or not he gave me a name. But now they're saying that there was no listing of somebody coming out. So I have no way of proving that he came out. But he came back to the house a little while later and said there were 7 manholes that were totally full, and that there was nothing he could do at that time. And since I had taken the caps off, that was just about all that could be done for right then. And then again on the Friday the 10th, by the time I came home, because I work in Tulsa, my husband is almost bedfast. He can only get up and go to the bathroom, come fix him something to eat, and he has to go back to bed. He has a bed. I have a bed fixed up in the front room to where that he's either in bed or he's on the twin size bed that I have in the front room. And he started hearing the rain coming down. I had put the caps back over the sewer cleanouts because I did not want something getting in the drains and clogging it up again. And he tried to get out there and take them off, and he could not get out there. He took one of them off, the one that goes to the main bathroom, but he could not get the other one off. And so it came into the house, and it came into the front room, which was the main part of the sewer issue. And by the time I come home, it had already done it. And I told him, I said, well, since we didn't get anything done for whenever we called before, I told him, I said, you just need to call the city on Monday and ask them to have someone clean out those sewer lines, because with us just calling, nothing is getting done. And so he called on Monday, and according to the letter, I guess the sewers were flushed on the 15th. But we were told that there were 7 manholes that were full. And, but yeah, our carpet was ruined. We had a guy come, the cleaning people come out, and they said that no, that could not be cleaned, and that it needed to be replaced. And like I said, I could not pull the carpet back to let it dry out because my husband is disabled, and it was a safety issue for me to even pull it back. And I just had to put fans on it to, I'm sorry, this has just been a very trying time for me with everything going on in our house.
Totally understand. Sorry to hear that. Just want to clarify just a couple things for myself. You said this happened on January the 4th. Was it your first time?
It happened on the 4th, and I called the city.
No, that's
well. I called the police. I called the police department, and it was pouring down rain. It was on a Saturday night, and it was pouring down rain. And there was a guy come out. Like I said, it's just like they say whenever an accident happens, and you take statements, and you've got 10 different statements, 10 different people that have 10 different deals, and but I could not give you a description of what he looked like. I do know he had light brown hair, and he was probably light to medium brown hair, and probably 40 to 50 years old. And but like I said, and then it did it again on the 10th. And on the 10th, by the time I came in, because I was not able to get home that night because I also have an aunt in the nursing home that I went by to check on. And by the time I come in, it was probably about 6 o'clock, and it had quit raining. And my husband told me, he says, "Yeah, it's already done." And even if I had left Tulsa, by the time I'd left Tulsa, it would have already been done. And because he could not get down to get the caps off. And so, yeah, they're saying that there were diapers and wipes and everything. I'm sorry, we don't use diapers and wipes. I don't even put grease down my sink anymore. I put it in a metal pie plate with paper towels, and then put it in the trash.
We appreciate that. Are you aware of we have a backflow preventer program that we will give all of our citizens who ask for a backflow preventer. We will give it to you to install. And I don't know how many issues you've had, but I just want to make sure you're aware of that or not.
I have lived here for 25 to 30 years, and the only other time I've had this problem is on January the 6th, 27 years ago, because the only reason I know that is either 26 or 27 years ago, because my great niece was born on that day, and the city flushed the lines, and it came up in my front room.
Yes, ma'am. The question that I asked, are you aware that?
And no, I did not, because I have never had any problems.
Okay.
I've never had any problems until now.
Okay. But just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that we do have a backflow preventer, that if you will have your plumber contact Mr. Elam or myself or anyone, we can get you a backflow preventer to the plumber so they can install that. So I would encourage everyone in the city to have a backflow preventer, just to unforeseen accidents or anything like that. But we do give them away to all of our residents. Is that correct, Mr. Elam?
Yes.
And so who do I contact for that?
You can call, you can call down to Public Works office, and we can make sure that is gotten to you, ma'am.
Wait just a moment. I didn't catch the name.
Contact Public Works office. If you would call when you speak with Miss Rhonda down there, it's the same phone number.
Okay.
Rhonda, would you give, she may know that.
Yeah, and I did speak with her husband, I think before this agenda was put together, and he and I did visit about the backflow preventer. So I did make him aware that we had those available if he would like to get one, that if they would like to get one and get it installed, and then just let us know so we can note on their account. I did make her husband aware of that.
Okay, well,
go ahead. But anyway, before we continue on with this agenda item, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we made a big public push to let all of the citizens know, because we were having issues in different parts of town due to the high amounts of rainfall that we were receiving 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Mr. Burton.
No, like I said, I've lived here for 25 to 30 years, and this is the only time I've ever had problems.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to make sure you're aware of the program. At this time, I'm going to have a discussion with the council, and I'm going to ask, I'm going to put you on real quick.
Can I give you to my husband? He's sitting here saying that he would like to speak to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, hang on just one moment.
Yellow.
Hello, Mr. Osborne. You're
Yes.
You're at the Public Works meeting, and you're addressing the board.
Yes. She's probably told you that 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 we called in and everything. And they keep telling us that no record was ever showed that anyone came out on that night when we called about it. And there was if no one was supposed to have been here, they have no record for it to coming out here. How did the board know to come to this address just about 30 or 35 minutes later after we called in, maybe 45 minutes after we called? He showed up at the door and for sending the white one of the white city work trucks, and he stood there and talked to us, and he said he would check the manholes, and he went off and checked them, and he came back in a little bit, and he said yes. He said I've checked about 7 of them, and all of them was full.
Did you happen to see his name tag on his uniform or anything, or catch his name or anything like that?
No, I don't know, sir, because like she was telling you, it's hard for me to get around, and I wasn't at the door. I could hear her talking to him. But like I say, if there wasn't no record on it, and about 30 or 35 minutes after we called and talked to him, he showed up at the door. How did he know to come to our address if it...
I do not know the answer to that, sir. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the board? Because I'm going to open it up for their discussion, and they may have questions for you. I do not know, but I want to make sure that you have said what you need to say.
I think he disconnected.
I think we may have lost him.
Okay. Well, we will continue on board, and if they try to call back in or check back in, we will allow them back in the meeting. He may have accidentally hung up or something. I do not know. But we'll keep it. He's there.
Jim has his hand up.
Okay, Jim, you have your hand up, sir. I'm gonna unmute you. Jim.
No, that was for last meeting. I was just gonna make a comment. I'm good.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry, Jim. You can unmute yourself, I think, unless do we have it where you couldn't unmute yourself?
It wasn't no big deal. I was just gonna make a statement, but
I'm so sorry, sir. Go ahead and make it.
I was just gonna tell the council that when Rebecca had mentioned the CARE Act, we also received a grant for $18,600 to buy equipment with that we can use for new ventilators and things. So.
Okay, great. I'm sorry I didn't recognize that earlier, but I was trying to give Mr. Osborne and Barbara Felipe a little bit of time to redial in or reconnect, because I don't know how we lost them, but I'm not seeing them. So thank you, Jim.
You bet.
Okay, we're still under discussion.
Do we?
Still have any, or the board have any discussion or questions?
Would there be I mean, if there is a discrepancy, would there be a report call to the police station that night?
Well, yeah, I think in our OMAG report and speaking with Rhonda in the police department, there's no, I mean, Rhonda, could you fill the council or the board in on this?
Yes. I turned the claim over to OMAG, and Mary Ellis, who investigated it, contacted me, had me check time cards for the employees or timesheets for the employees for that date. That on January the 4th, when they said they called the police department, we have no record of an employee clocking in. That was a Saturday. We have on-call crews. We have no clock in for any employee on the 4th. I called the police department, and I believe Miss Ellis also did. And they went through the log at the police department, and they did not have a call on the call log from that address on the 4th. So I don't know if just maybe it's the wrong day. I don't know, but on January the 4th, we had no clock in from an employee, or the police department had no call in their logbook.
And yeah, our first call out was like 11 days after that, correct?
Our guys went out on January the 15th, I
15th.
believe,
Mhm.
and jetted the line. And as far as there were, the employees said there were baby wipes and rags in there. Those don't necessarily come from that residence. They could come from, another residence upstream, downstream, whatever. It's just, that was what he found in the line when he jetted it.
Right. And I'm gonna ask this to Chief Haley just for clarification. Our call logs on weekend hours, I mean, what's the odds of this call not being, us not being able to find it, if that makes sense?
Well, whenever they receive a phone call, they have notes that they write down and then they enter it into our computer. So as far as being able to find it, all it would be a matter of actually just doing a search for that day and that time frame. And if it was entered in there, it would have been there.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, Ron, I don't know if they have their dates wrong or
Right.
what, but
I don't know. Yeah. And CJ actually did a search by the address. Then she went back and actually read the call log for several hours prior to and after that time frame and could not find the call. Plus none of our employees clocked in.
I'd like to point out it's not only the discrepancy with the date, it's also whether or not there was an independent act of negligence on the part of the city. And that's really the most important question here, is that there needs to be shown some independent act of negligence on behalf of the city. It's in the report from OMAG.
Yeah.
Right, it is in OMAG's letter, yes, sir.
And OMAG said it wasn't viable, so we generally not approve those anyway.
Yes, and I wish that I wish the lady would call back on. I just really wish they would so they could hear this. But I don't know if what Mr. Abernathy said is absolutely in the letter. I'd like to ask the board if they have any other questions and entertain a motion if we don't.
I'd like to add to it, if we approve it, then we violating OMAG, and that'd probably get us in some kind of trouble with it.
Yes, sir. Typically, when OMAG asks us to deny something, they have found no fault on negligence of the city, as Mr. Hicks pointed out. And they also, I think, their estimates on carpet was mid to late February, and I would think that 45 days after the incident was when the dates of the carpet cleaning, actually almost 2 full months of February 28th. They're in your packets also. So
also on their, what was it like? Estimate was $5,099, well, about $5,300.
Yeah.
And they didn't claim any on their,
right.
Maybe their policy or just different.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Once again, I wish they would call back in because you could ask that question unless Miss Rhonda knows.
I do not know. I don't think they filed a claim. I mean, they say they had State Farm insurance, but they show amount claimed 0 on their tort claim form. Like they didn't turn it in to State Farm.
So I do have another question then. Like the city, like Brian Smith went out or on that Monday, on the record, all that was on the 150 the city bank. Is that what it's?
You were sketching out. So Ms. Rhonda, if you heard what he said, I don't know that I did.
I'm not sure exactly. I think the first call that we had or that the work order was generated was on January 15th.
Okay, that's,
Jetted the sewer line. Yeah.
so it was 11 days later.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and just to reiterate what Mr. Hicks said, you know, this is, the negligence, what we have to find is that the city was negligent. Like, if we did have call logs on January the 4th, and we took no action for several weeks. But what OMAG is saying, that Oklahoma law has consistently held that a municipality is not an insurer of the sanitary sewer system. This means that a municipality is not automatically liable for damage to property which result from a sewage backup. A municipality may be liable if it had prior notice of a defect or a problem in the sewer line and failed to take appropriate remedial action within a reasonable time before the damage occurred. We can't find, or neither did OMAG, in their investigation, where we were called on the 4th or the 10th, that our first call was on the 15th. That's why they didn't find any negligence, and so that's why they recommend denial of that claim.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the tort claim of Charles Osborne and Barbara Philippi.
Roden second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to deny tort claim of Charles Osborne and Barbara Philippi. Mr. Rondo, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
I'm gonna have to abstain.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to approve or not approve resolution number 2002, a resolution establishing the cost for electrical services provided by the Wagoner Public Works Authority with regard to the retail power cost adjustment and providing an effective date. Note, this is a technical correction and does not affect the rate charged for electricity. Thank you for putting that note in there. I'd like to open it up for questions from the board. Mr. Elam, would you like to start out with anything?
No, when we was going through some issues and with Mr. Hicks, as well as some GRDA personnel going over some other entities with attracting the business to town that you alluded to earlier in the agenda items, we happened to come across this and noticed we had a technical error on it, and we needed to get it correct. So that's what this is about tonight, just to correct a technical error we had currently in place.
Does the board have any further questions? Seeing none or hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Anthony, I'll make a motion.
Sullivan second.
And I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2002, a resolution establishing the cost for electrical services provided by the Wagoner Public Works Authority with regard to the retail power cost adjustment and providing an effective date. Ms. Ronda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes. Yes.
Next item on the agenda, unscheduled public appearances. There were none. Next item on the agenda, departmental reports. Open it up for Mr. Elam. The council or board has any questions?
Board, you have my report before you. As you can see, we have several projects going on. At that time of year, construction gets very, very busy. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Dwayne,
Yes.
are they gonna do anything with that sewer line that they dug up there on Jefferson? Where Willie dug that sewer line between first and second?
Yeah, we're in some negotiations and conversations between in regards to that issue. There was some miscommunication between the plumber and some city employees, so they're working through those issues as we speak, Mr. Butler.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No, just a comment. I want to let Mr. Elam know that the squirrels that generally get the electrical plant over by Autumn Woods, they're getting busy. The squirrels are talking to me now. I just want to let you know. They are bad. So you probably get some outages if you don't do anything about it.
We'll try to remedy the problem best we can.
Yeah, all right. I just letting you know it's gonna probably happen because it's a lot of them in that area.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Make a motion. Aaron had to make a motion to.
Second.
Yes. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler.